Thursday. Hello, Vicky.
Hello, hi Asel. Hello everyone.
Yes, hello, everyone. We would love to greet you again in this weather. And also, we're talking about, how humanitarians know places that many normal people don't know. And I was specifically referring to one Slovakian town, Košice, that now, unfortunately, because of Ukrainian war, we happen to know it. And yeah, it's like humanitarians tend to go to places that people normally don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the topic that we wanted to talk to you today about was how to find your passion of what you want to do next if you're transitioning, if you are wanting to leave whatever you are doing currently, and our experiences of how you could do that. And before we get started, Vicky, I wanted to just announce the exciting news that I am planning on doing in September the retreat for humanitarians who are wanting to make a decision on transitioning and moving onwards. And if you're interested in that type of retreat, I'm hosting for up to 10 people. And if you're interested, I think we will start the launch as of tomorrow, but I just wanted to give the heads up. You can start messaging me so that we can just give you the spot. First come, first serve, as usual, is the rule. So I'm very excited about that.
Mhm.
Okay, now coming back to
Awesome.
our topic of how to find the passion. So, what would you say, Vicky, in terms of when people come to you and say, "Yes, I'm wanting to leave. I know what are the things I don't want, but I also don't know what I really want to be doing."
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Yeah, if you allow me, I would just before that, I would just like to say my observation from the research that I've been doing, and it's
Mm,
really I was fascinated by the creativity and diversity and like absolute and limitless imagination that I've seen with humanitarians leaving the sector, because so often I've often had the feeling that once you work for a organization, you sort of get framed in the organization, you
yeah.
become like a mass, like become almost like a mass. Even though you do different things, you do communication, logistics, protection, etc., you still are part of one organization. But people that I have been discussing with, I was really amazed by the creativity of where different sectors they have gone. I mean, sectors that are really very different, sectors such as art and or business or things that are really unrelated. And That's just I want to say first of all. Really don't put your limits, don't limit yourself. The first thing for me would be don't limit yourself already at the beginning, already
Yeah.
when you're exploring, by saying, oh no, but I can't do this, I don't have education, or but I'm not I don't have artistic spirit, or really already the first, and I notice it very often, is the already the first barrier you put in your mind. So that's already the first thing I
Yes.
would say, right at the beginning. Just
Exactly.
don't say what is at the beginning when you are envisioning, when you are, and we can talk about how to do that, of course. Just don't put this barrier in your mind as the first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you know what I would also love to add to that is like let's not create obstacles where it doesn't need to be because we're simply in our mind constructing things, right? We're not even implementing anything. So as long as we're just picturing in our mind, it's fine to have like flowing all the desires coming out. And if you don't feel like you don't have those desires, or if you feel like you don't really have anything that you're interested in, that you are like the weird person who needs treatment or whatever, it may not be true. So let's just give time to listen into what is really happening within you. And maybe it also signals you that you need just time to rest and find out um, all the desires. It's just that maybe you've been ignoring them a lot, so that's why you don't really have the habit to listen to them anymore. So that's why I would love for you to, like, have a limitless fantasies and imaginations of what could be possible. Use this as an opportunity to get creative. Like, we interviewed even people who decided to renew all of their education from scratch, right? I mean, you and I have done that as well in some ways, and the possibilities are limitless. And what I love also, seeing the examples of, like, I was speaking to humanitarians who are working in the stock exchange, which I
Yeah,
never would have imagined that,
absolutely.
humanitarians do that, right? Because I always imagine us being like in, I don't know, public sector or in other organizations, but I don't really imagine them being in these. So that's why you can see that there's like so many different ways. And I remember, Vicky, you were telling me one of your interviewees was going back to forensic science, and that's like also fascinating to me that you can
Yeah,
do that. So that's why I think the first is, don't create obstacles where there isn't necessary, and start getting all of your ideas out and into the world, or even desires of what you're really wanting. And then the other thing I would really love to suggest is, like, once you listen or list all of the possibilities that you have, then you can start conversing with people in those areas. If you are like afraid that you
yeah,
couldn't do this, or it would be impossible, or something like this, right? You could always like talk to those people. And we humanitarians, I think, are so like ready to help each other, and that's what I love about it. So you can just chat with them and see how they're doing, what their challenges were, and you will get some ideas as well. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I have a one small tip. I read it once. There is a professor. I forgot at which university, and he deals with life purpose. So really, there is a scientific research into life purpose. And one of his recommendations is that if you really don't know where to go after in the next chapter of your life, if you are struggling or your mind is really interfering too much, just pay attention to those moments where you become captivated by something, so that you just forget time running, like whether you are
Mhm.
reading a book or maybe if you're doing
Yeah.
something else. So whilst you're doing it, like what is so captivating, where did your mind go in those moments that you're not really reflecting, you're not. So that's really, I think, very interesting observation to really know
Yeah.
if you're struggling, and you have like several things that you are. And I see several times people say, what I really want to do is this, but what I really know how to do and I have experience is this. So I think there is, there is a mile to be walked and clarified. Is that okay?
Yes.
Sometimes I see the need to sit, I call it sit on the two chairs at the same time, right? Whilst
Yeah.
you're developing the thing that you are really passionate about, that you really found that you
Yeah.
wanna do, but maybe it still doesn't pay the bills and you still need to, work
Yeah.
for the initial job. Sometimes literally,
Yeah.
yeah, they can be sitting in two chairs at the same time.
Exactly. And the other thing that I think I want to say, like in terms of what not to do, maybe to consider, is that I see a lot of people also think that because I can't find another job and my experience won't count, or whatever the belief that we hold to be true, and therefore we start studying things that we're not maybe interested in,
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
believe that that's what will get us another job, right?
yes,
And if you can, please don't do that, because I really, like, my heart bleeds when I hear people say I have to study like maybe a PhD or another master's because that's really what will get me a job. But what if that's not the case? What if you
yeah,
already have enough experience, enough education, and what if you just need to give a time to get whatever you're wanting while also working, doing something else temporary, right? So there's always that option, because I find with studying is that it's a lot of investment, like not
yes,
only in terms of finances but also time and all the other things. So that's why, like, be careful that don't let your fear based brains
yeah,
drive you to making investments that may not really help in the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, Asel, you said one key word here, and that's fear-based decisions. And
Yeah.
fear-based decisions actually never work. They might work for a
Yes.
short time, but like, they will get you the job that you want, but you will not be happy. You will be really miserable. You might be happy for a week,
Yes.
and but that's really, even research like shows that. So that's why we encourage people to really, we encourage colleagues to really step out of the comfort zone and find the true calling that you have, and work towards it. I mean, it doesn't, you will probably not
Exactly.
be able to leave your job right now. There might be studies you need to do. There might be some investment, some learning, observation, but in the long term, it's definitely worth it. Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing that I would also suggest not to do, I feel like, in this episode, you are saying what to do and I'm saying what not to do, which is great. So, one of the other things that I see often humanitarians do is that we believe that if we leave the humanitarian world and if we take up a job that's in our minds is considered like ordinary, meaning like I don't know, teaching job or in a community where we are, right? And like the routine jobs. And somehow many of us tend to belittle it in a sense of, well, I
Yeah.
can't really be doing that now because after all the things that I have done, right? But I would really be careful and encourage you not to judge yourself if that's what you're wanting to do. And there is no, I think, such thing as great big jobs or like small jobs or
Yeah.
I don't know, insignificant or significant, right? What matters is that it needs to be significant to you. And as long
Yeah.
as it's significant to you and fulfilling to you, that's what it matters, no matter what the title is or no matter how other people view you if you took up that job. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
one of my clients was saying that, well, after working for UN, I can't really take up these jobs because my in laws will look at me like, well, how could
Yeah.
you like lower your standards or something, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just not, of course we could always go living by the standards of others, but we know that that's not bringing
Yeah.
us joy or happiness or fulfillment. So that's why if you're wanting to take up that job, like I don't know, even riding a train, or you're passionate about railway or whatever it is,
Yeah.
go for it because life is short, and you are leaving humanitarian field for a reason. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I like what you're saying, because this is very often, because with loads of these agencies there is this experience that one accumulates, and status. There is a lot about status, and I can appreciate that some people may feel that way, because imagine that some people actually in the aid sector are not only and I think you might have this case as well, right? You're not only paying your own bills, but you must be supporting other people, right? You're supporting parts of the family, etc. So I appreciate that that can be a factor, but obviously life is built so that you cover your own needs. And I think people tend to, maybe what I would say here, people tend to, when they think about their lives, they very quickly go into, oh, my life is my job. But actually, satisfaction comes from so many different things. And I think that's one of the mistakes, that when people come, and very often I see it with my clients, is that, oh, I want to fix my job. But actually, throughout the coaching, it turns out that they actually need to look at their whole life, because your job is part of your whole life, and like all of it gives you satisfaction or not, and all of these things are connected. So look at it, I would say, also, like, broaden your horizon and try to construct not only your job, but really look at your life you want to live. Like, your reason you're leaving for the aid sector, not only because of the job, but most likely because you want to live differently. So start with that, how you want to
yes.
live.
Exactly. And I'm seeing, like three categories of reasons why people leave the humanitarian
Mhm.
aid world, right? So one is because of your own interests, your own passion, or
Mhm.
whatever you're finding. The other one is because of other people or because of other decisions that people made. In other words, people have to leave. And the third is because of job or the systems that we don't like. So whatever the reason is, you know now what you don't want to do. And I think that's clear for you in terms of that environment where you were. And like Vicky was saying, that now is time to get all the other areas like on the table, and
Yeah.
then look at all the different aspects of where you might have neglected things, where you might have, you need like rekindling to do, where you need to do the rewiring or reconnecting, right? So that's why use this as an opportunity to look at all the different areas of your life. And also what I love about what Vicky we were talking about is like, who am I really wanting to be, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the big reason why many of us may have decided to leave humanitarian world is maybe that environment was not where we could be the person we wanted to be, and we wanted to be that person who is true to our values, true to what we really want, how
Yeah.
we want to create impact. So that's why be very clear as to like who you want to be now that you're leaving, so that you don't keep using the excuse or other factors as a reason why you can't be the person you want to be, right? So that's why even if you don't know what you want to be doing after you finish, you can always decide who you want to be, or who you couldn't be and now who you finally want to be, and then start being that person. And once you are, you will immediately know what you want and what you don't
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very true. I would also, from the research that I have been doing, I would also, there are two categories of people, two or three. It doesn't matter that I'm seeing. It's people who are looking in terms of her switching and looking in terms of employability. That I was, in other way, I was working maybe with this organization, and I'm taking my medical skills to to a hospital, or I'm taking, so in terms of serving, but under the umbrella, which is
Yeah.
absolutely great, right? And I think most of the people are doing it. And I think there is the other category of people who decide to be on their own, who decide to say, okay, I actually don't want to be employed. And
Yeah.
that's really opening up the chapter even more, or the space, I would say, even more. Okay, so you're constructing your life completely anew, and
Yes.
now you're on your own, so you have all the freedom to decide of
Yeah.
how you're going to live, when. And maybe you can also mention us a little bit about, I remember you mentioning like deciding like when to work, like we have the habit to work from, I don't know, 8 to 5, 6, whatever the habit is. But you can decide that you don't work in the morning and you work in the afternoon. So obviously that goes together really to in designing your life.
Exactly. And that's my, like, from my own experience, I had to start new, so to say, in so many ways. And also grateful because it gave me a lot of ways to see how my mind was so structured on one way of living,
Yeah,
right? And then when I had all the freedom to decide how I wanted to live, all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I don't know where to start, how to start, and I'm overwhelmed, and I need to be doing something, but I don't really know what. So there were a lot of those things coming up, and I find that's just part of the process. And it's not
yeah,
something to be freaking about, or it's not something to be like something has gone wrong. When I was there, I had all things figured out. Now I don't know what to do, right? So let's not get into the existential like crisis, but rather just know that this is
yeah,
part of it. Like for me, the difficult part was to structure my
yes,
days and my productivity, my work. It was also very difficult to define what is success for me now that I don't have any status, I don't have any like promotions and stuff, right? Because my brain was so used to, okay, if we do
Yes.
this, then we go this, and now I didn't have any of that, so I needed to figure that out as well. So defining for yourself what that means, living without the status, without the promotions, without those structures, how are you going to create your own structure? And that's great in freedom, but at the same time it may sound overwhelming. It's okay, you can
Yeah.
do this. It may take some time. For me it took, I think, like half a year to figure out my structure. And I knew that this would happen. I just didn't know like the intensity of it. And that's why at times it was like, oh, I can't believe that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm supposed to know all the things. I'm supposed to figure things out, but I don't. So this is okay as well. We're not supposed to know all the things. And it all
Yeah.
comes with the experience of experimenting with it. So that's why decide for yourself, like even before you leave the sector, if you want, you can already start thinking about, like if you're going to be on your own without working for another organization, for instance, then you can start thinking about how you want to live your structure. I mean, how you want to
Yeah.
structure your life, your
Yes.
daily activities, what is important that you don't want to be missing anymore, right? What are the things that you don't want to compromise anymore? What are the things that it's okay that you don't do it here and there? And then just like for yourself, experiment with all of this already. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can just really attest to the importance of creating structures and some systems for yourself. And some of them can be supported by habits. Not everyone loves it, but habits are actually very, very important and useful. Habits that work for you. Don't take habits that don't work for you. But very, very important because if we don't have sort of habitual ways, we tend to, I don't want to say lose time, because losing time might not always be bad in terms of creativity. It's good to have times when you don't do anything. Actually, I was listening to a podcast today in the morning where they reiterated that, these moments that are not filled with activity, that are not
Mm.
filled even with listening, these are the most important moments. And actually here we go back to listening to your body, to your intuition, to your heart, whatever it is. If you don't know where you're going, really to spend time in these moments that are are not filled with activity, because this where your mind goes is really indicative, and where your heart goes of what is important. So yeah.
Exactly. And also, if your brain starts getting anxious as to you need to be doing something, you can also get curious why you always need to be doing something, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that was, I think, one of the biggest challenge for me was that I was so believing that I need to work hard and suffer in order to get something. And this was like my, I don't know, modus operandi before. And then once
Yes.
I left the aid world, my brain was like, well, what are we gonna do now? We're not suffering. We're not having hard work. Obviously, we're gonna die, right? This kind of like reaction, and it was just
Yeah.
fascinating to watch it. So that's why, like, I'm learning now what it means truly resting as well,
Yes.
without thinking about work, without worrying about work, right? Because before I would go on vacations, but still having this
Yes.
inclining in my back of the mind of like, oh, what if someone writes me? What if my boss was looking for something and I didn't get it, and all the things. And I'm learning now that actually resting is an art on its own. So
Yes.
so whenever your brain wants to be doing something, that's also indication that it's time to reflect on why that is. And maybe that's the habit you want to be changing now that you have all the
Yeah.
freedom to do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I so concur with what you're saying, and it might be difficult to sometimes disconnect from every day, because you have all this information on your phone everywhere you go. So here there is a very, very simple tip, and I think everyone knows it: disable all the notifications.
Yes.
Absolutely all the notifications. And I have to say, I have disabled all the notifications, not even WhatsApp, nothing, because I know that subconsciously, if it's there, and again, that goes to
Yeah.
self-awareness, that it just gives me this feeling. Now I don't
Yeah.
know, and it's up to me. And really, I have taken the control back to myself to say, okay, I look at the phone whenever I want. The email will be
Yes.
there, the message will be there. If it's very, very urgent, someone will call me. So I really urge
Exactly.
you, right? I really urge you to start with small things, really banal things.
Yeah.
But this is how you start also creating the mental space and creating the habits of, okay, this is the time for work, and this is the time for me reflecting of what I actually want to do after my humanitarian
Yes.
career.
Exactly. And maybe the last thing that I want to add to that is that that if you are believing constantly that you don't know what to do and you need to figure out and this kind of like frantic energy, it might also be that you are not giving yourself enough credit to figure things
Mm,
out.
yeah,
And we often have this also like self like opinions about ourselves in a certain way, right? We always think of ourselves like we're this person. And if you happen to have this belief of you are the person who can't figure things out or who doesn't know what to do, if you are believing that, unfortunately you will continue confirming that
yeah,
bias. So you really need to be aware of this might just be something that you are so used to believing. What if you don't believe that anymore? Right? What if you
yeah,
become the person who figure things out as you go, and you are the person who has all the resources within you, who can find
yeah,
answers to what you're looking for, instead of like keep asking everyone around you or keep searching
yes,
for answers in Google or all the other things, because that may not in the end help you if you are not really believing that you can use that information. Because no matter what we are going to say here, if you're not going to believe
yeah,
that you can do this, you are not going to use this at all, and it will just remain as information. And what I'm noticing more and more, that knowing is never enough. It's useful and the starting point, but it's not enough until we implement it. So
yeah,
that's why whatever you know you learn from us, from others, start implementing now, from this self image of the person who can figure things out.
yeah, yeah. Well said. Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. So, having said this, we would love to hear your questions, your feedback, and I think we will start also interviewing people again, because we felt like we've done a lot of interviews, so we rest a bit. But I think we will do that again. So, if you would love to come over on live with us to talk about your experience of leaving the humanitarian world or coming into the world or transitioning within the humanitarian world, we would love to hear from
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And
Or if
until
you just
then,
maybe haven't even, sorry, transitioned, and you just want to have a chat and on live, and
yes.
we'll see how how we can support you in your quest. That would be absolutely welcome too.
Exactly. And just one thing that came to my mind is that Vicky and I did a webinar recently on
Yeah,
transitioning humanitarians at the Co Create Humanity, and we're very grateful for them for this opportunity.
yes,
And what I noticed in those questions that participants were asking were very subtle questions. And I think, Vicky, would be great that maybe we bring some of those questions here
yes,
and to
absolutely.
discuss about that as well, right? Like subtle questions of how do we really know what's the right thing to transition? How do I know that I'm not sabotaging myself? Right?
Yeah,
These kind of questions. And we would love to address these. And if you happen to have similar, like very subtle of how do I know? How do I know that I made the right decision? Or how do I know that I'm not really avoiding something? Right? So if you want to come and talk to us about this, we would also be very grateful so that everyone can benefit from this conversations.
yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vicky.
Thank
And
you.
we will conclude for today, and we will see you all next Thursday as usual.
See you
Have
next
a great
Thursday.
summer. Mhm.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.